So I'm trying something a little different today, see if people pick up on this. What I want to do is I want to talk about a need. I have a need of having a website that runs two different programming languages. So it's my business website. So this is the use case. Business website is running WordPress. That's a pre-built thing. I don't want to mess with it too much. It does its own thing. So I want that to live in its own different directory. And then I want to have some Python code that I can also use in the same domain. But I don't want the code to commingle. I don't want everything just in one big directory as a pile. I want two separate directories running two different languages so that I can extensively work on them separately at different services. So I'm going to kind of take you through how I set it up. I'm not going to give you the big pieces. You guys are smart. You can figure it out. If you want me to dig into any of the particular specifics, let me know. This is just kind of a quick overview of how I get things done. So let's start off. I'll click through and show you. Here's the website, right? There's not a lot going on there. This is my business website. It's how I get leads in and how I get contract work. But what I need to do is I need to add an API callback for LinkedIn so that I can have my LinkedIn app working for my organization, doing automatic feeds or likes or whatever it is I want to do. I just want to get it set up to figure out what I want to do with it. But I can't just shove it in there with a PHP. That's not going to work. So let's kind of go through the actual infrastructure setup, and then we'll go through the services setup, and then we'll jump into the code. So the infrastructure is right here. We're going to jump into my vSphere, and then I can come down here and see on this particular ESXi server, I have my Watkins Labs web. This is the actual server. It's got 8 CPU, 32 gigs RAM. This is just where I keep the business website, I think. Yeah, that's it. I only have 2 websites on this one. And then it's probably like a cent 9 or something like that. Everything goes to a pfSense box. This is all in Colo. And so if you jump over here to pfSense, this is my machine. Got a bunch of tunnels going on up here. Let's go into the firewall and let's check the NAT. This particular machine is 1090.045, so I've got HTTPS and HTTP port forward to that machine. I don't have anything else going to that machine, no OpenSSH, anything like that. I connect through a VPN, so I can personally go to the IP, the internal IP directly, so I don't need external ports. So right now we have a machine in vSphere. We have a network path connected to it through pfSense, so you can actually get to the machine. The PHP website is already up, and you can see it right here. And so the next thing we need to do is configure our. I'm running Apache for this one. Now, a lot of the times I run Nginx for a web server. It's easier, it's newer, it's a little more clean. But I mean, PHP just works really well with Apache. I mean, I've done it's all PHP FPM. It's all as a service and as a socket and all that stuff. So it is 2 separate services connected. It's just this was easier for this particular setup. If I come over here to let's go ahead and then just log into the box, and then and my work box is public key friended with, my other boxes. All my machines are pets, not cattle, because there's so few of them, I can easily manage them. It's not really a big deal. So let's first check out my virtual host. And so in Apache, you have basically a configuration. It's your virtual host file, and that says, for what IP, at what port, where are we serving it, and what are we serving it with. If you've ever played with it, it's pretty easy to set it up for one single thing, right? So right now I have mod PHP, mod SSL. Mod SSL gives me my SSL capability. Mod PHP does my serving, and I'm actually doing a fast CGI pass to PHP FPM, which runs a separate service to run the actual PHP. But the problem is now my virtual host is going to want to serve everything through the fast CGI. So this is the virtual host for this particular entry. So 443 is HTTPS. Say, and nobody can go into that one directory right there. Watkins Labs is my actual website directory. I name things by what their actual name is. Makes it easier for me to find things later. If you make something obvious, you're less confused when you don't know what's going on. I might come back to something years later and like, oh, that's what it is. And since this is for myself, you know, don't overcomplicate it. Always do error logging, super important. SSL ciphers that are supported. These two lines are what do it, right? And I played around. There's a lot of different ways you could slice this onion. Proxy pass says everything under the /API, right? Everything under the URL /API is going to be served by this socket right here. And this socket is actually JUnicorn. And then the proxy reverse pass is the same thing. It gives you give the location where it is, and then you have to set up the actual API directory to allow access to. Otherwise, you'd be able to get into it, but then you'd see permission denied. So basically, we were just proxy passing to a socket for everything that hits the /API, and that way it doesn't go on the default PHP path. Everything else just gets served via PHP like you would normally. And then there is, let's check it out. So there's a service for JUnicorn. So let's look at, what is that? Actually, I might have it over here. Do I know? All right, hold on. There we go. And so this is the JUnicorn service. I set it up as a systemd service so that basically I can do service, whatever API on and off. And I set a lot of things up like this instead of just having regular bash scripts, because it just makes it easier to deal with. And then I could just do a service enable to make sure it comes on whenever the server comes on. Since most of the machine types that I work with are not Debian or anything like that, or Ubuntu, it's usually Red Hat or a CentOS variant, or Rocky Linux. So anyway, this is JUnicorn is installed system-wide. I've got a virtual environment for this particular Python set up right here, and then here's the working directory. And it spawns 4 workers, which is more than enough for what's going on for this particular API. And so WLAPI is the API directory, and you can see there's a socket in there, and the socket is, oh, actually you can see it over here in the, so this is the VS Code, and this is where I do most of my work, and I'm just directly editing this on the server. Now sometimes I will, well, most of the time I'll work directly on my machine, but in this case, I don't need to copy it on my machine because I'm going to sync it to a private repo where it'll be, where everything will be there anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. And then I'll pull it back down on my machine if I need it for later for backup. But for JUnicorn initializes this app right here. I add the path to the location so it can find everything, and then I just start a class server, and then I import my 2 blueprints, which are the routes, which are the, you're typing in something in the URL /API /whatever, and then that's how I execute the code for the Python app. And then you can see right here, here is my callback. Super important. This is what I want. I won't lock anybody out who just is typing random stuff in there, right? And so let me go ahead and show you the API in progress. If I can find it. Oh, is it in here? Oh, no, it's right here. Sorry. A lot of terminals. So I set this up as this is a separate repository that is in the local machine. And I write almost all of my Python scripts as modules. So when you see at the top right here where it says python-m, that's just me loading the full module. And then it automatically does its thing. So I just want to copy this address, and then I will come over here and I will paste it. and then it'll take me to LinkedIn, which is how the LinkedIn API does, and it's a three-legged OAuth cycle. You hit their endpoint asks for a human but say yes or no, and then it redirects to your endpoint, and your endpoint will then do some magic behind the scenes, and then you'll get an access token that you can then use in your API separately to do stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign in, and then click allow, and then boom. All right, Python API callback complete. Access token saved, and so I'll have an access token saved on this drive, either in a YAML file or an environment file. I'm not playing with databases right now, but I mean, so that's it. So I have Python API running on the same domain, utilizing the /API for the route redirect, and then regular PHP running on the main domain. Now, if I was using containers or Kubernetes and I was doing routes and containers, you could do all of that stuff too. But this is how you would do it on a regular server, and it's just a lot less complex. Like, look, I love containers as much as everybody does, but I mean, let's face it, you do not save money by buying sugar by the cube, right? You buy it by the pound, and that's what a virtual machine is. Sure, you can tune it, but I mean, that's a different debate. And so that's it. If anybody has any questions or wants to see anything else, just let me know.